Hi, everyone. It's time for another episode of Rebecca and Rebecca. My name is Rebecca Yager, and as y'all know, my partner in crime is Rebecca Reed. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello, Rebecca. How are you?
Doing well. Hey, it's February. It's Valentine's. We're in our reddish finery here to celebrate the month. And of course, this month we've had a contemporary romance with the fabulous author Rachel D. Russell. Rachel, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We're glad you're here. We can't wait to talk story with you and about your writing journey
Journery.
and
New
journey.
words.
Yeah,
We can
we're
invent
authors.
them.
We create things.
That's it. Creating new words as we speak. All right. Rebecca, in that case, why don't you read Rachel's bio so people can actually understand who she is and what it's all
Okay,
about? We'll dive into our conversation.
I'd love to. Award-winning Rachel author. I almost skipped things. See, I'm not doing very well today either. Award-winning author Rachel D. Russell writes contemporary inspirational romance focused on forgiveness, redemption, and grace. She's a country girl living in the suburbs whose resume includes presenting live animal reptile programs, being a park ranger, a reserve police officer, and a stint in federal prison, where she worked, not lived. She makes wild attempts to balance writing under publisher deadlines with her full time career with the federal government. When Rachel's not cantering her horse down the Oregon beaches, she's probably interrogating her husband on his own military and law enforcement experience to craft believable heroes in uniform. The rest of her time is spent enjoying her active family, including two college age sons and three keyboard hogging cats.
Thank you.
I gotta love that. Okay, number one, Rachel, you don't look old enough to have college age sons. Um, number two, you're a busy woman. I
Yeah, yeah.
so
It's been a lot.
balancing writing with work is a challenge, I'm sure.
It's really been a huge hurdle for me. It's funny because before we got on here, I actually, you can see I have my writer board behind me, and I realized my first deadlines under contract are on that. And at that time I worked 3/4 time, but still a lot of hours at the day job. And my deadline for my first manuscript was due, let's see, 5 months, 4 months, 4 months, less than 4 months from brainstorm to first manuscript draft due.
Oh,
I don't even know how I did that back then. Um, and I actually had two books under that contract. So the second book, it was similarly just really tight deadlines. And in hindsight, that wasn't necessarily the best thing for my health. But it is hard, as writers, that ball gets rolling and you have opportunities and you seize the day, and you're nose down at the keyboard. But unfortunately, I work at a keyboard during my day job. So then I was coming home and writing all evening and all weekends, not taking vacations. And it was a lot of stress. And I think, even now, it's something where I've had to turn away opportunities. And it took a lot for me to reach that point. But it was kind of, it was necessary. It's necessary to reach a point where I can surrender my career to God and trust that even when I have to say no, or I'm sorry, I can't, that honoring the caring of myself
mhm.
is going to be rewarded. It's not the right word, but that's the right thing to do. And I still, even now I work, a little over a year ago, I had to convert from 3/4 time to full time, and still writing under contracted deadlines. And it's been a very hard year. I've been burning vacation days to do my writing, And something I'm really praying about and wrestling with right now, and I think a lot of people do that, who work day jobs and also write, especially when it's under contract, because you have those externally imposed deadlines, and different personalities handle it differently. Another person in my same position could probably just be cranking out the books. My process is a little longer, and just working that out has been a lot of growth for me to kind of get to a point where I understand that I have to say no sometimes.
I think even like I haven't been published yet, but even me, I've put on my own deadlines sometimes. And it's like it's not quite the same because a publisher deadline is much you can't move that. That's you have to hit that. And I get that. But even with me, I'm really I'm kind of a completion oriented person. And so I love, that feeling of okay, I got that done. And I tend to focus my energies really hard on whatever it is that I feel is the priority at the moment and let everything else go. And I've this just in this last few months, actually, I've kind of gotten to the point where it's like, it's okay if I don't write for 5 hours today, or if on a Saturday or whatever, because that's what I would tend to do. And it's like, it's okay if we had a missionary that came and spoke to our church the other day. And it's like, we went out to lunch with them afterwards, and I said, it's okay that I'm not working on my book right now. I can take this opportunity to speak to this missionary and learn more about what's going on and enjoy my lunch and not be lamenting the fact that I'm not
Yeah.
at my computer. So I understand what you're saying, even though I'm not, it's not quite the same, but it's a process that you have to, and I think other people are the same way. There's a lot of professions where you have to take your work home with you a lot. And as a teacher, I did that a lot when I was young, learning to teach, and I took my work home with me all the time. And at some point, I mean, I've been teaching for 23 years now. So I do not bring anything home anymore unless it's absolutely necessary. If I can't get it done at work, it will wait. It has, and I've finally learned to separate that. And I think writing is the same way, and probably a lot of other things too, but it's a hard lesson to learn, though.
It is.
Yeah, you're not alone there at all, Rachel. And you weren't being paid to endorse this, but you found a book that was very helpful to you by Becca Syme, Write Better Faster.
Yeah, it's
And
actually a coaching class course.
sorry, coaching class. So, and it taught you to accept your process and try not to play the comparison game. Am I understanding that right? With
Yeah,
other.
she kind of dives into, we do Myers-Briggs, a lot of people have done that at one point or other in their life, and then the Clifton Strengths. And I had never done a Clifton Strengths test, but you answer a bazillion questions, and it kind of, you kind of see where what's strongest for you. And, of course, we all live on this, spectrum of different strengths and stuff, and where we land. But one of her key phrases is question the premise. And I found that a really valuable tool, because for me, I'm a really strong learner. That's one of my strengths. I'm a learner. I love to learn. But when I learn from people, learn from these authors who are great authors, they're great teachers, but it doesn't quite, when you try to apply it, it's not quite working the way it works for them. And you're like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I write this way? Why can't I, whether it's, outlining this technique or outlining that technique. And you see it work, you see it even work for their other students, but it doesn't work for you. And her question, the premise, comes back to everything that people convey and teach you carries with it some assumptions underlying it. And you have to consider, are your goals the same as that author or teacher, whatever it is you're learning about, but we'll use authors as author teachers. Are the goals the same? Was their personality the same? Are they is their life situation the same? Where they're at in their career the same? Odds are none of those things are exactly the same, but how much they're different is going to affect how well what they're teaching you may be able to be uh, incorporated into your techniques. So, for some people, that you would hear people say, you got to write every day. That's the thing. That's what you do. You write every day. And for a select number of people, that works. For others, it doesn't. And there's no right or wrong. And we tend to get into this black and white. Oh, this is the way you do it because this brings success. And it makes sense to say, write every day, practice what you want to do, keep after it. Like Rebecca, I am a block writer. I tend to be like a submarine. And it's all in alignment. I didn't know this till I took her class. It's all in alignment with who I am as a person. I get super heavy focused. And so, this is why you have some authors that write in the coffee shop, and some of us are like, how do you even do that? It's all because of who we are, and there's no right or wrong. We have to really be comfortable in finding what actually works for us and not assuming that what somebody else has that works will work and apply specifically to us. Other people are, some people can impose self-imposed deadlines and that works for them. Other people are like, they need somebody else to hold them accountable. Some people can say, well, I know I write X number of words an hour, and that means I can write this, 60,000 word novel in this many work sessions, which is this many, and they can calculate it all out. And it's something they can recreate again and again. And it works for them. And then like me, somebody asked me how many words a minute I write. I have no idea. I mean, I can type super fast. If only we could write as fast as we can type, right?
Yes, I wish. I wish.
I don't create that way. And so again, that was something I kept thinking, well, I should be able to calculate out how long this book will take me. I should. That's just not how I create. And she had this beautiful analogy of so on Myers-Briggs, I'm an INFJ. And the intuitive people, I still plot. Of course, she would say everybody plots. I mean, books have a plot. So if you're writing a book, you're plotting. How much you plot, versus pantsing. But we all are creating a plot as we write. But she had this beautiful analogy of the snow globe. And somebody like me, I have to get inside the snow globe. I have to feel and touch and be in the snow globe. And that is how I get to know my characters, is I kind of rough out the story, and then I have to like walk in it to know what my characters are thinking and feeling. Whereas somebody else, they can they can write a very detailed spreadsheet outline of their book, scene by scene. They know exactly what their characters are going to be thinking, feeling, doing as they walk on every single scene. I might generally know. And it took a lot for me to like admit that to myself, because I'm like, I like organization. So I'd like to say I'm like a super hardcore outliner. Yeah, I totally plot, and I'm finding I'm not as much of, I like that looseness. I like to be able to feel my way through the story a little bit. Surprise.
I'm like that too. And I think, well, I totally pantsed all 5 of the first novels that I wrote and didn't have, I mean, and part of that was just because I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And part of it was, I think it's my natural way of doing things, but
Yeah.
I did enjoy, I mean, I am glad I learned how to plot, because now at least I can kind of give myself some logical goals of getting to this point, to this point, to this point. And it really did help me write shorter books.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. Anyone who has listened to us before knows that Rebecca writes a lot of words.
Really long ones, yeah. And then I end up breaking them into like 3 novels when I'm done, and that kind of thing. But no, but I understand what you're saying, and I think there's no way to figure out your own method until you actually are just doing it. And I think it's just like, I don't know why we as authors tend to want to take one person's method and just think it should just apply to us. But because in any other business, like I'm a track coach and we go to a track clinic every year, and everybody's like, well, this isn't going to work for everybody. You take what, works for you. But authors tend to want to just adopt a certain like way of doing it. And it's like, but you need to take all of those different methods and blend them, because then it's going to become your method. So I completely get what you're saying.
Do you think that's because writing is just so hard? We're still looking for that one magic bullet that's going to
Yeah.
help us.
I think that's very
Probably.
true. We want to find the method that, because you see that teacher, and usually it's a published author, especially if you go to writing conferences, it's a published author who has written books and books you like, and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to be like them. Maybe not. So it is finding your own way to work. That's why we have plotters, pantsters, somewhere in between folks.
But it's really cool, because that also is really why we can all be authors, because nobody can tell the story the way we do, because nobody thinks the way we do or feels the way we do. I mean, we don't create the same. And the problem we're discussing is also the benefit and the reason that we need to write our stories. So it's cool.
That's
that
a
way
really
too.
valuable insight. I think, considering that, because we can also minimize why my story, what makes the way I write this story different. And so honoring that it is different, just because of how we're wired and how we create our experiences, whatever crazy things are happening in our lives, all woven into that tapestry of the story.
That's well put.
We're writing, I mean, when we write as Christian authors, at least, we're writing the story with God. And so he's got something unique for each of us. And so that therefore, as long, if we're creating the story with him, there's no way that our story is going to be like anybody else's, because we're all unique people and he has created us in that way. And so it guarantees that even if we took the same tropes and the same basic characters, we're still not going to come up with the same story.
Yeah.
Makes it. Well, speaking of story, let's talk a little bit about It's Your Love, which is the book we read for this month, and that both Rebecca and I really enjoyed.
Thank you.
We highly recommend it, Rebecca, right? Told everyone to go buy
absolutely.
it.
Thank you.
And stuff.
I mean, you
but
got
of course,
me at horse, but
yeah, I was about to say Rebecca loved the horse part, which I love horses, but y'all are the horse people. But speaking of the horse people, you mentioned that the most interesting thing you learned was there's a lot of lingo that comes along with people who are in the horse world or in the horse business.
Which I'm sure applies to so many different hobbies and careers and such. But, to me, horses are such an ordinary, everyday part of life. It's that it didn't occur to me that language I use, other people might not know. And when I submitted my draft, the editor was like, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? And it was hilarious. I mean, one of the phrases that stuck out was, and I ended up reworking it in the story, what I had originally had, that she kissed the horse into a canter. And, to me, that's just something you do. You make a kissing sound with your lips, and my horse responds to that like that. But she's like, what does this mean, Rachel? And so then I was like, oh boy. And, writing it so that, you can't introduce this kind of stuff where like every word you use, you define. So trying to use it in context so people would understand what it is. I mean, even something as simple as, a halter versus a bridle. To me, it's like, doesn't everybody know that? And I don't mean that in an insulting way, but it's like, I just thought everybody knew the difference, and learning that people don't always know the difference. Some people have no idea. So writing the story in a way that still used proper language as much as possible, but also sometimes I had to just kind of describe actions that were happening, or or use more common language to talk about things, and say the same thing, but in a way that everybody could understand. But even still, it was funny. And two, you know, part of reading, we learn new words by the context, how they're used. So I knew I couldn't, you know, there were going to be some words that people might just kind of skim over, but they still understand what was happening with it. One of the ladies at my Bible study, she said, yeah, I had no idea what barrel racing was, but I figured, you know, what was racing with horses. I'm like, that's all you need to figure out. I mean, but that was really eye-opening to me, because it never, I mean, I live in a pretty rural kind of area, even, you know, smallish town. I grew up in the country. Everybody had a horse or knew somebody that had a horse. So it was just integral to my whole entire life. So it was surprising, but also super. That's where having those readers, you know, the editors and readers who have a totally different background, reading that story before it's going to publication, that could be like, can you maybe explain?
Mm.
You're like going over everybody's head with these words.
Well, I think you did a good job, because I felt like I kept up with all the horse lingo
Okay.
in the story and at the camp. So for Grayson and Beth, one comment we had for the review was that they both seemed to be running from things in different ways. I thought they were really deep characters, really felt real. I mean, they kind of leapt off the page, and I wanted to go play at the camp with them
Yeah, me
and
too.
get to know them better. But was there any inspiration, or is it as the story developed that you were able to add the layers to your characterization of one or both of them?
Yeah, the layers, these two characters, I know every author probably says they love their characters, and every book I write, I love my characters, but Grayson and Beth were super special to me, and I can't like really put my finger on it. Um, but they were with me through some really, really hard things in life, including my mom being diagnosed with cancer and subsequently passing away. That was you know, a 7-month process that happened while I was writing this book. And, you know, reading her, you know, I was reading to her my scenes, and um, just the heart of connection with family, and the fear of loss, and how do we trust God when we know we're not guaranteed no pain. And so a lot of that just, I think, flowed into the story as those emotions. You know, I really felt deeply for both those characters. To me, they're very real people. And I hope they're real to my readers, because yeah, they were both, you know, we run, and we fear, and we when we can find that place to stand, and when we can have someone stand beside us and help us step into what God has for us, how super special that is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm like, that's well said. I almost,
Yeah,
let's stop there. That was great.
that was great. Well, I
Go
thought,
on, Rebecca.
you know, that you had to know these characters super well, because the black moment that you had in this story, or the darkest time when everything was going wrong in the story, was the most perfect dark moment, black moment that I've read in I don't know how long. And we've
Oh,
been
thank
reading a lot
you.
of books. And I was just like, this fit so perfectly for each of them, you know, the actual things that went wrong and what they had to deal with. And I was just so super impressed by how you brought them to their knees, basically, so that they could then come out the other side, you know, stronger. And it was so perfect with what you built up and how it happened. And I just wanted to let you know that I was in awe. As a matter of fact,
Aw,
I rewrote part of my story because of reading your story, because I
aw,
didn't think
thank you.
mine was good enough.
Oh,
So,
I feel like the Holy Spirit was walking with me through that story. I mean, it just I would have these moments where it would just be like it would like kind of just I'd be wrestling and wrestling and wrestling, and then this spark would just kind of come to me, and I'd be like, that's it. Because you do want that part of the story to feel so organic and not contrived. And when I write that part of every book, if I'm not bawling, I'm not there yet. And because I want, it has to feel that hard for us. That's what invokes us to change as people, is often the hurt, the pain, that black moment in our lives where we look around and be like, how did I get here? And man, this hurts. And what am I going to do about it?
mhm.
Yeah.
It's true. So, and I think what Rebecca was saying too, my first thought was nothing in your book was contrived. It felt real. It felt like we were walking, these were our friends, Grayson and Beth are our friends, and we're walking with them through the struggles. And then anyone who's been through the struggles can relate to them. And it can be inspiring. And this is what some people who won't read fiction because they don't think it's real, or it's too pie in the sky, but no, it really can help you, and it really can encourage you by watching what the characters go through in the story, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Romance can get a little bit of a bad rap. People think it's fluffy, it's not deep enough, and or it's fake because there's the happy ever after. But I think it's got so much roots, because don't we long for relationship? We're wired for relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And we can really experience the depths of God's love often through the people he brings into our lives that love us in our imperfections and our flaws.
And have
Yeah.
us come out stronger with by walking with him and having
Absolutely.
him, knowing he's there on the other side. Oh, I love the way you think, Rachel.
No, this is awesome. I was going to say, what fiction can do, romance fiction especially, is it can take a person who knows they have an issue, but isn't able to speak it, like they know there's something going on. They know they're wrestling, but they're not able to verbalize the problem. And fiction can give them words for what they're dealing with. That's what I think is.
Yes.
Well, so it's your love. And again, go buy it if you haven't bought it. So,
I have it right here.
oh, good. There you go.
Yes. It's so beautiful too. I mean, you put it on your shelf and
Isn't that cute?
look at
It
the
is.
gorgeous
I love
barn,
it.
and yeah, it's really pretty.
It's
It just
really-
needed like a horse head or something. But, but that's okay. It'll be okay. I survived.
You'd want a horse on every cover if you could.
I read every book in my library when I was in school. If it had a horse on it, I read it. It didn't matter what it was about. I didn't care. If it had a horse on it, I read it. So I understand the draw of, the actual animal. It doesn't matter what kind of story it was. So,
The problem is with publishing houses is they don't necessarily know horses.
right.
And so my houses, I'd have some direct connection to make corrections, but it hurts my horse heart when I see authors' books put out, and it's like, say it's about a Western writer, whether they're a rope or rein or whatever. And the horse on the cover has English tack. And you're like,
Yeah.
Or, it's got a Frisian stallion and it's about a whatever quarter horse Palomino.
Right. No,
Right,
I understand that, even because there's a book right now, and I'm not gonna name any names or anything, but it's a horse racing book, and the horse on the cover's running the wrong way.
Oh no.
I noticed it immediately, and I'm like, "Oh,
Is
oh
it like
dear."
water is at the other side of the equator and it's going
Whoops.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but
All right, but don't blame the author. That's what we're
I'm
going
not
to tell
blaming
you.
the
Is
author.
don't blame
It
the
was a
author.
publishing yeah. It was a
Authors have
publishing
little
house. It
say.
wasn't an indie published book or anything, so, like, not
They
their
always don't
fault.
have control.
Right. But
All right. So, Rachel, tell us before we go all sidetracked here on that. What do you have coming up next? What are you working on?
I am a little past halfway through my next manuscript, and it's with Sunrise Publishing. It's in a brand new world. I can't say a whole lot about it, but I think I can say there is a fudge shop involved, and that it is in a new world, never before seen, and it will be part of a series. It's been hard for me to write this one. I kind of had a little stroke of creativity. I wrung creativity out of myself. So I wrote 10,000 words in the last 4 days, which for me is a lot.
Yeah.
That included the entire weekend and a vacation day.
Oh.
But I got them on the page, and that pushed me past the halfway mark. So I'm gonna keep pressing through. I'm hoping to actually turn this one in early, just to give myself a break and be able to rest. I'm looking forward to rest.
Well, that will rejuvenate your creative side, which I know includes watercolors and other things you like to do. Flute playing? Am I
do play
remembering
flute, yeah. Flute,
I do
watercolor,
too.
riding my horse. Yes.
that?
We have so much in common.
So sounds like you two should write a book together. The
We should.
playing,
You can play
watercoloring,
flutes while riding horses. It'd be fun.
horsewoman. Come up with something there and
Sounds like
stuff.
actually a really cool fantasy idea.
There you go. There you go. I should say that book won't release till 2025. So, but people can kind of follow along and see the progress as things get released about
They
it.
can join your newsletter so they don't miss any of the updates, right?
Yes. They can sign up at racheldrussell.com and they get a free chapter. And I do not spam. I try to send out once a month. Sometimes that flags and lags a little bit, but more or less once a month. And I've been working on some fun kind of freebies for my subscribers, just download printables, things that they can use that are fun for readers and writers too.
Good. So racheldrussell.com. Sign up today. Rachel, is there any parting words you want to give us, or are we good?
We're good, but thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
Oh, well, we really appreciate it, and such words of wisdom here. I think really inspirational for today, and we appreciate that. So next month we have E.A. Hendricks. We are going to a romantic space opera world, totally different from contemporary romance, with Suspended in the Stars is our next book. So if you're into space stuff, space operas, we will be checking that out. That's going to be a new genre for us. But meanwhile, it is February, so enjoy It's Your Love by Rachel D. Russell. And Rachel, once again, thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, everyone, that's it for now, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.